Hello and welcome to another standard video. Today we're checking out this red-black or Rakdos sacrifice deck, which got an important addition from Tarkir Dragonstorm, namely the Rot Curse Rakshasa, a 2-mana 5/5 demon with trample. It does have a drawback, it has Decayed, meaning it cannot block, and when it attacks, we have to sacrifice it at the end of combat. Now the Rakshasa still sets up a turn 3 Alicia perfectly, as we get to hit the opponent for 5, sack the Rakshasa, we'll have a raid enabled, and then Alicia can immediately get back that very same Rakshasa end of turn, and then on the following turn Alicia can start attacking, picking up additional +1 counters. So that's the 2 and 3 curve that we're trying to set up, and the Rakshasa is also perfect for setting up a turn 3 Unholy Annex, as we'll already control a demon, so we get to immediately make the opponent lose 2 life, and we get to gain 2 life ourselves while drawing an extra card. And then later the Ritual Chamber also gives us a mana sink, making a 6/6 demon token, which can then also enable the Unholy Annex. And then even if the Rakshasa ends up in the graveyard and we don't have Alicia, we can still use the Renew ability for X and double black, exile it from our graveyard, and put a Decayed counter on each of X target creatures, so then those won't be able to block, great for getting the last points of damage across, and if the opponent's trying to outrace us, they'll have to sacrifice those creatures after attacking. Then besides Alicia, we've got another raid creature with the Seer Slicer Goblin, making an extra 1/1 token end of turn, and all those tokens are great to enable our various sacrifice synergies, such as the Disturbing Mirth. When it enters, we can sacrifice another enchantment or creature. If we do, we get to draw 2 cards, and if we later sacrifice the Disturbing Mirth itself, we get to Manifest Dread. So that's another way to maybe put additional creatures into the graveyard to enable Alicia, and if we get lucky, we might find a face-down Rakshasa with the Manifest Dread, and then we can turn it face up at instant speed, and because we're not technically attacking with the Rakshasa while it's face down, and we get to flip it face up after the opponents maybe declared their blockers, we get to hit the opponent for 5, keep the Rakshasa for another turn, and then we'll only have to sacrifice it once it attacks for a second time, so that's also pretty neat. And then a Disturbing Mirth we could even sacrifice at instant speed in this deck with an effect like Torch the Tower, which we can bargain, so we get to deal 3 damage as opposed to 2, scry 1 in the process as well, and this can also exile the creature we're taking out, so that can also come in handy in a lot of matchups. And then we also have Final Vengeance as another cheap removal spell. As an additional cost, we have to sacrifice a creature or an enchantment, so that's another way to maybe sacrifice our own Disturbing Mirth, and then we can exile target creature. This is a sorcery, so that's the drawback, but can help take care of larger threats. And then we also have 2 copies of Nowhere to Run as another instant speed removal spell, can ignore Ward and Hexproof going forward, so great against effects like Sheltered by Ghosts. And then it's also an enchantment that stays in play that we can then later maybe sacrifice to a Torch the Tower, a Final Vengeance, or a Disturbing Mirth. Then we also have 2 copies of Corrupted Conviction to sacrifice a creature and draw 2 at instant speed, so this we can also combine with the Rakshasa. After having attacked with it and dealt 5 damage, we can sacrifice it in response to the Decayed trigger and still draw 2 with our Corrupted Conviction, and there's plenty of other tokens like the ones from Seer Slicer that we don't mind sacrificing, and we've got a bunch of 1-drops here too, with a Greedy Freebooter. When it dies we get to scry 1 and create a treasure token, which has plenty of synergy like with Bargain. Then we also have the full set of Spiteful Hexmage, a 1-mana 3/2, but when it enters we have to attach a Cursed Roll token to a creature we control. Can sometimes be an advantage, since a Hexmage on turn 1 can enchant itself, and then turn 2 we can sacrifice the Cursed Roll to a Disturbing Mirth, draw 2, and immediately attack for 3, so that's pretty great. And we can always just enchant a creature that's already a 1/1, so then it's not a drawback, and we can still sacrifice the enchantment to something like a Final Vengeance or a Torch the Tower. And finally, the Clockwork Percussionist, a 1/1 with haste. It's an artifact creature, so we can also sacrifice it to Bargain, and when it dies we get to exile the top card of our library and play it until the end of our next turn, so that can also provide a little bit of card advantage. Also good to get back with Alicia, can maybe play defense with it, and then provide some extra cards as well. And then the mana base is just red-black dual lands entering untapped early, since we want to be curving out in this deck. So let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, we're on the play with a reasonable hand, maybe just missing a 1-mana creature to enable the Goblin. Facing blue-white. Okay, so Seer Slicer minus a raid. And Archaeologist, 0 points on Omniscience combo. And they've got the lockdown. Luckily, we've got some more expensive permanents we get to run out here as well. I think I still lean towards Alicia just to increase her damage output a little bit more. And then we can draw more with Annex next turn. They may not cast a lockdown yet. Then I might end up removing the Archaeologist. Probably want to keep the instant speed Torture Tower for the Abuela's Awakening in case they don't have a second Omniscience or a counterspell in hand. And then, for now, Annex, keep up Torch. The one downside of Lockdown, of course, is that it exiles our stuff, so Alicia can't get anything back. So that could have been a reason to try and sacrifice our stuff, so it still ends up in the graveyard. Do have multiple instant speed removal spells now, so those could try to interfere with their combo. No Omniscience yet. They could still mill it at instant speed with another Moment of Truth, so it could be risky to tap out for Ritual Chamber. Let's start by attacking. Possible they just Ephar's Dispersal me, which is also an effective answer to the Demon token, to be fair. Okay, let's see what they surveil. Right, they just milled the land. Now I'm maybe still going for the Demon just to be mana efficient, since I don't have to keep up any instant speed interaction for Abuela's Awakening. Of course, they could technically still play a Surveil land, mill the Omniscience that way, and then combo off, but that's not very likely, especially given that they could have milled it into the graveyard already. So it's just going to be a stock up, so they can potentially have another Dispersal in hand. But if we want to enable raids, I'm kind of priced into attacking, and then I can still play Freebooter, sack it to Disturbing Mirth, and then play Alicia to get it back. So we'll start by attacking, see if they have the Dispersal. If they don't cast it, then I'm more priced into keeping up my instant speed interaction again. So they had it, and they didn't mill anything. Okay, so as far as we know, we might still survive next turn, unless they go 2 mana, discard effect for Omniscience, and then Awakening. But I think I need the added pressure of getting back a Freebooter and drawing with Disturbing Mirth. And then I guess with a treasure I would still at least have Torch the Tower up. So it's probably fine to save the Hex Mage for next turn, unless I want to cast it and then use a Bargain Torch to get rid of the roll token. But then we also need a target, which we're probably not going to get. So I can just wait to put the roll on the Freebooter. Well, let's see if we're dead. They would need like a Dragonstorm or Chart a Course. I guess Moment of Truth could also work. Into a land, into Abuela's Awakening, having discarded Omniscience. And then they need either a counterspell or a second Omniscience in hand to beat Torch the Tower. Alright, there's Chart a Course, that's step 1. Step 2, do you discard Omniscience? You do not. But you do have a lockdown. Okay, let's see what we wanna do here. So that would also exile Disturbing Mirth. I don't think I want to waste my Torch the Tower here. So we'll let that go. Alright, so attack. Can Freebooter into Hexmage. And then we've got lots of instant speed removal up. Still lose to double omniscience, but we're a bit better now in the face of counterspells. It's a matter of time until we find another demon to drain them with Annex. Alright, opponent's passing. They could also sack Blast Zone on one, but that's fine. Another dispersal on Alicia. That happens. And are we sacking Blast Zone? We are. Okay, so then... Still no omniscience in the graveyard. I did not mean to keep on top, but I guess I'm happy with the Annex. So then I can play Alicia, play Seer Slicer, and still have nowhere to run plus Torch up. Or I guess double nowhere to run. So yeah, this seems to be going pretty well for me. Go for Hex Mage, enchanting the Goblin. And then we've got another demon ready to go. Can both play the Annex and the Ritual Chamber. Archaeologist did mill Omniscience, so we'll see if they kept one in hand to stop our instant speed removal. Awakening the Omniscience, so I'm in full control here. Do they have another Omniscience in hand? They do not. So I should be able to deal with their Omniscience. Sack the roll to scry. Another Seer Slicer doesn't seem needed. Omniscience down. They do get to resolve the invasion. But I might be able to present 12 damage next turn. Double Annex is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 in fact. So that should do it. So it was a very lengthy game. Usually games against Omniscience don't last this long, but that made it more interesting to play and watch, hopefully too. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a keepable hand. Freebooter into Disturbing Mirth can set us up. Got some interaction. Step 1 attack. Now the problem is if our opponent is keeping up Cut Down and I cast Disturbing Mirth, they remove Freebooter in response, and then I don't get to draw. So I might have to just pass and wait for the opponent to either tap out or us to draw a second creature. Alright, opponent's got the turn 2 bat. I think we actually know where to run, so we have additional sacrifice fodder in play, plus I also want to keep Torch to maybe sack the Disturbing Mirth, so we get to Manifest Dread, and then it's also just more mana efficient this way. So yeah, they had the Cut Down, they didn't want to use it, but it's gonna work out better for us this way. Hit for 1. If our opponent's playing the Slasher, Torch the Tower is the perfect answer as well. Could now just sack the Nowhere to Run instead of the Freebooter. Yeah, I guess we don't really need the Ward Prevention. And then probably fine to keep up Torch, since Percussionist has haste. Our opponent's gonna Duress, probably taking Disturbing Mirth. Unless they do indeed have Slashers in hand. Can also sack the Percussionist to a Torch the Tower. Still would love to find something like an Alicia or an Annex. Another bat. Yeah, I think I'm still happy to bargain. Manifest Dread And then probably fine to put the Hex Mage in play so I can turn it face up for an extra point of power. And then should I keep another Torch? It's not a bad card, it's not one of those big 3 mana plays. So it's a close call. Maybe I should bottom it. Alright, Corrupted Conviction's not bad. So I don't think I turn this face up yet, since I might need the mana elsewhere. So let's Percussionist attack. And then I could just pass, or I could Conviction now. And then I think we leave Percussionist in play as more bargain enablers. Sack the Freebooter. And then Rakshasa is an okay draw. Applies a bit of pressure here. And then we still have Torch with bargain available. If they tap out for a larger creature, like an Archfiend, Final Vengeance is the perfect answer. So this is working out beautifully. Alright, so Vengeance, sacking the Percussionist. See what we hit off Percussionist. Still lose 2 life, but that's fine. And Alicia was perfect here too. So get to attack. Alicia can immediately get back the Rakshasa. Still have Torch up. And could still turn this face up to make a 3-2. Alicia down, since we still knew about the cut down from turn 1 basically. But we got our value. Another Archfiend is good. Okay. So not an exciting draw, but we do get to attack all out. And we'll see how they block. Block Rakshasa. Turn this face up. And then we still deal 3. And then we can finish off the Archfiend. Even though Rakshasa can prevent it from blocking next turn. And then I do think I bargain just for the Scry. So we can get rid of a mountain. I'll keep land in hand. Keep them on their toes. And it's not like I'm gonna need to renew for X equals 5 here if I draw another land. So our opponents are 2 facing a Hex Mage, but they can cut it down. And now a Slasher, so yeah, they had a good leftover. It's just a 1/1 Hex Mage. I could hold it, so I can maybe later enchant a 1/1 to keep the 3/2. But if I draw Disturbing Mirth, for instance, I could attack for 3 next turn. We'll see for opponents' attacks. Maybe if they top deck the Bloodletter, they can threaten lethal. Another Slasher. Can prevent those from blocking anyway. And we found Annex/Ritual Chamber. So yeah, the safest play to beat an opposing Bloodletter is just to make a Demon and pass. And then next turn unlock the Annex and drain them for 2, assuming they didn't draw removal. So their opponent attacks, and then I'm pretty sure we can just take it. If I jump with Hexmage, we lose the Demon to a Liliana -2. Sheoldred's Edict would get us no matter what. But yeah, we can take it. And then next turn Annex should be game. But yeah, opponent was on empty. GG's. Close one, but good to see some very neat synergies. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. We've got a Keeper, Percussionist. Hexmage can put the roll token on it. Can also sack it with Bargain from Torture Tower. And turn 1 Siren from our opponent. Don't really want them to block, but if they do, that's okay. Opponent takes it. So what kind of blue deck are they? Blue-black, I see. So it's a Kaito ninjutsu type of deck. So they might have Drowner to tap our creatures down at instant speed. I think for now I still like attack, play Hex Mage, and then keep up Torch. I may not want to sack the roll token to Torch since we have Disturbing Mirth as well. There's a Drowner. Because I can sack the roll token to Disturbing Mirth. So if our opponent's got a Kaito here, I can't stop it, since they have 2 creatures that can attack. But then it's probably best for me to, let's see, them replaying Drowner, is that more annoying than them replaying Siren? I think so. It's also more damage. Alright, so is our opponent gonna ninjutsu Kaito? They are not. It's gonna be a fear to pick up the Siren. Alright, that's okay. Alicia has a decent draw, although probably not setting it up right now. So instead, I could get the Annex going, or we could Disturbing Mirth, sack the roll, hope to draw another 1-mana play, pretty much. So next turn the Hex Mage can maybe trade, get it back with Alicia. So maybe we do get the Annex going now. Found Torch, that's excellent. So now we just need another land that's untapped, ideally. And if they get to Fear up to 4 toughness, it's going to be a little harder to remove. But we can still get it with Nowhere to Run plus Torch. Take 3. And our opponent keeps up 2 mana for what could be another Flood Pit's Drowner. Alright, so it could be a little tricky to set up Alicia. Let's move to attackers. Yep, there's a Drowner. Also not opposed to kind of taking a more controlling stance. Since we have the Annex, drawing cards. So I could just Nowhere to Run the Fear, keep up Torch. Although hitting my land drop would be nice. So maybe I will still Mirth, sacking the roll. We hit our land drop. So should maybe Nowhere to Run the Fear now before they get to untap and maybe bounce it with Town Ain't Big Enough. Another option was Torch, sacking Mirth to manifest Dread. So yeah, Torch does a lot of great things for the deck. Found Rakshasa to enable the Annex, since the demon's pretty weak to a bounce spell. Opponent's gonna stock up. Okay. Yeah, if our opponent had a turn 3 Kaito, this game would have been a lot more difficult. But now they're sort of playing into our strategy, although we have yet to enable Alicia. Percussionist holds back the Drowner at least, unless they can explore it into a 3-2. And then next turn, yeah, we definitely want to play the Rakshasa, and then could be Mirth, sack Mirth, keep up Torch. Siren hits for 1. Opponent passes with 2 mana up once again. So no creatures to return with Alicia. So I think we stick to the plan. Mirth, sack Mirth. Play Rakshasa. And then maybe let Seer Slicer go to the graveyard, since I can flip Rakshasa face up for a lot of damage. So now Alicia looks reasonable too. If I attack with the Percussionist, although we can expect them to remove Alicia. So then I think I prefer Rakshasa, keep up Torch, which can sack Disturbing Mirth to manifest Dread again. But we can hold back with a Percussionist. Opponent's gonna go for the throat Rakshasa. That's fine. So next turn Alicia will just get it back. Also have this other Rakshasa I can flip face up at some point. So a lot of useful options. Just a Siren attacking. Maybe I should torch it before they ninjutsu a potential Kaito. Sacking Mirth once again. And then this doesn't matter too much. I guess we don't show them the conviction. Though needs a tap land. Okay. So as long as we get a demon in play, we should be in great shape. And we've got multiple avenues between Rakshasa, Alicia, and the Ritual Chamber. But I still stand by that the Ritual Chamber is probably not the most reliable path if they have a town in big enough to bounce it. Nightmare, get a land. Do I have a preference? I guess we keep the mountain. Yeah, we could easily get burnt out if they have a couple Nightmares and bounce effects. So we need to get that demon in play ASAP. And there's Kaito, so they did have it. So taking out the Siren worked out. And now we should be able to attack the Planeswalker down. We did still lose life, so they do get to draw. Alright, so what makes sense? Attack Kaito with 3 of my creatures at least. Hope they block the one that's Rakshasa, but they might just let it go. Maybe I could have just attacked with the face down Rakshasa, so they would have been more incentivized to block, and then we still get to take out Kaito for free while leaving blockers back. But this way I get to spend my mana elsewhere. So I'll gain 2, and then I guess I can still Mirth, sack Nowhere to Run. Don't particularly need it in play. It is still useful for Kaito's hexproof, but yeah, we won't be targeting Kaito. And play Freebooter, and then end of turn, first get back Rakshasa, and then triggers Annex. Okay, so we're back up to 8. We've got an overwhelming board presence, and this deck typically doesn't play any board wipes as far as I know. Opponent goes exploring. And next turn I could Mirth, sack Mirth, and maybe unlock the Ritual Chamber after all. Now a talent can get back maybe a stock up or a go for the throat. Opponent has to pass it back. Alright, so maybe I start with Mirth. Having a face down Rakshasa is pretty great, since we can flip it face up after already attacking with it, so then we don't have to sacrifice it until the next time we attack with it. That's going to be a get out to counter our enchantment spell. Okay, that was a little unexpected, but acceptable. Can attack mostly all out. Opponent's got another Drowner. Going for Alicia, I assume. Nope, the Rakshasa also makes sense. Interestingly, I could have flipped this face up before attacking, so I actually sacrifice it to Decade and get it back with Alicia, but we still have a Cedar Slicer to get back. And yeah, our opponent has seen enough. They probably have to start trading away their creatures, and they're not winning even with the talent. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. Sadly, can't keep a one-lander. This is keepable. And then maybe we just keep all creatures. Although Hexmage on 1 without a way to sack the roll token, I guess until we can torch a tower, wouldn't be all that exciting. But I probably need to keep all 3 lanes to ensure Rakshasa into Alicia. So I'll bottom the Hexmage. Another Rakshasa is fine. So what's their opponent playing? A mono-white deck, presumably, and a life gain deck. I think I need to torch now, since I may not get the opportunity to cast it until a couple turns go by. But the Vanguard's not the most threatening card in and of itself. Plus they might also have Sheltered by Ghosts as removal, and then it's good to have an answer left. But yeah, I'm probably gonna tap out for Alicia if Rakshasa sticks around. It's gonna be a Rabo, okay, so it's a cat deck instead. So definitely glad I held on to Torch now. So I don't think I can afford to play Alicia, but we can just Torch plus play another Rakshasa. And then I should probably main phase the Torch, because they could have instants like Claws Out, which would punish me for waiting. Alright, I've got a Roaming Throne. I'm liking this deck. So next we can keep a Percussionist on defense while Alicia gets back Rakshasa. But yeah, if our opponent's got a Regal Caracal next turn, we're in serious trouble. We can still renew a Rakshasa out of the graveyard to prevent them from blocking. And then if they attack, they also lose their creature. But yeah, that's the nightmare scenario. Caracal following a Roaming Throne. So we're never out racing them until we deal with Caracal, and even then there's all these tokens. So this was just too powerful for us to handle. Can block this for free. Need to somehow string together multiple removal spells. Nowhere to Run isn't bad. It answers Caracal and also ignores the ward from Roaming Throne going forward. So I guess I can attack all out, hope our opponent does something weird with their cat tokens. Because yeah, I mean, I'm pretty dead if they just take it, I think. Because if they block with all the cats on Alicia, I would be very happy, but opponent correctly identifies that they should take it. So, take out Caracal now, again in case there's a pump spell. But I'm very much dead on board, even if I get back something that can actually block. I guess I can renew onto the Roaming Throne now for x = 1, since we don't need to pay the ward. And then get back the Percussionists, but they can activate Soulstone Sanctuary. I still take 6, 7, 8, 9 exactly. So yeah, I'm dead on board. Was just hoping they would have blocked with some cat tokens. But if they do the math, we should be super dead. I guess Vanguard also triggers twice with Roaming Throne out. So they've got a damage to spare. Going to be another Roaming Throne, so they're not going for lethal. We're still easily losing, but I guess I'll take another draw step. Can jump, take 8. And what do we get? A Ritual Chamber. So now if I attack, I can get back the remaining Rakshasa, and then Annex will gain 2 life. And then we still die. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen the cat deck in action. Built one myself when Foundations first released. Seems quite similar to their build. Need to make sure to get Rakshasa back first. And then resolve the Annex to gain 2. Conviction could still sacrifice my Rakshasa and maybe find a removal spell, but nothing that's going to save me from this position. Good game. Let's see what we would have drawn into. Alicia and Hexmage. Alright, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a keepable hand. Percussionist can enable Sear Slicer. Get some removal, some card draw. And now Rakshasa can also set up the Annex, especially for opponents. Prevents me from raiding. So step 1 attack. Opponent takes it. Yeah, could be convinced to play Sear Slicer now. I'm okay if I lose a bit of life, our opponent doesn't seem particularly aggressive. And get in for 4. Looks like they will have an answer this time. Slicer down with a Carnosaur, so this is likely a Reanimator deck. So they could already bring back the Carnosaur next turn. And there's green in there too. Face down card, I'm not entirely sure which one that would be. Maybe it's the 6-powered skeleton guy. Either way, we can torch the tower it if we pay ward. Or I can just play Mirth plus Rakshasa. And then if they want to flip it face up, be my guest. Sure. And then I should probably sack Percussionists before we do anything else. Exile the torch so we can play that next turn. And then drain for 2 with Annex, drawing another card. So we've got a lot of tools to work with. Alicia can get back the Rakshasa right away. And our opponent passes. Okay, so step 1 might be to attack with the Rakshasa. See what happens. Yeah, the Hunted Bone Brute still has 2 toughness. So we might be fine to try and torch it for 3 mana, although then I'm not playing Alicia. So, yeah, let's just start here, see what happens. And then, do I need to bargain anything? Yeah, I guess so. I get to Manifest Dread, pay the ward. And then we can let the Rakshasa go to the graveyard. And then paying 1 mana will basically give it 1 additional power. Okay, it was not a Hunted Bone Brute, but a branch of Vitu-Ghazi. Fair enough. So that was unexpected. And then I can attack. Play Hexmage. Enchanting the Goblin. And pass with Conviction and Torch up. Is our opponent gonna combo off here? All the Surveil lands kind of point in that direction. Virtue Persistence. Can just sack in response to Fizzle it. So they don't get the enchantment half. Alright, step 1 attack. And then I want to ideally play Alicia and another Annex, so we get the Rakshasa back. So I won't have the mana to turn this face up. So then we'll be 1 damage short of potentially winning the game right now. Assuming Alicia survives. Opponent makes a treasure. So first resolve raid and then Annex. Get back our demon. Our opponent will fall to 1. And it's going to be an Atali hardcast, revealing a Dragonstorm, so it is a Dragonstorm deck. So yeah, possible our opponent can win the game on the spot here, depending on how they configured their deck. Although, at the very least, Virtue Persistence could be one of the hits. Opponent sacking Atali to exile the Rakshasa. And we'll see what the Dragonstorm hits. Another Dragonstorm. So we get to spin the wheel again. And this time they hit a Moldering Gym, so probably not what they were hoping for. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. We have a Keeper, turn 1 Hexmage. Can either enable Raid or sack the roll to Disturbing Mirth to immediately attack for 3. Up against black-green, so maybe kind of a mid-rangey, rampy type of deck. Could also go Percussionist. I guess never mind, I don't have red on one, so then it's just Hexmage. But next turn we have several options. Okay, opponent Abzan Colors, and Virtue takes out Hexmage. So now I don't have anything to enable Raid or to sack to Disturbing Mirth. So I guess it's just a sad Seer Slicer for now. Now up the Beanstalk. So our opponent's definitely aiming for the late game, so this is going to be a tough one, especially if they have Sunfall to wipe the board, since we kind of rely on the graveyard. So Seer Slicer attacks, Alicia gets back Hexmage. And then we can enchant the Goblin token. And we get to untap. So yeah, next turn is where Sunfall could happen. So we want to brace for impact, which maybe implies Disturbing Mirth this turn. So we draw, maybe find our Ritual Chamber to make a demon, as opposed to playing more creatures out that will get exiled. Could still play Percussionist maybe, and then sack the Percussionist to the Disturbing Mirth. Opponent takes it, so yeah, I feel like a Sunfall's incoming. So then the question is, what do I sacrifice? Because it is relevant what ends up in the graveyard potentially. Unless, of course, Alicia will get it back right away, then it doesn't matter as much. Yeah, I guess just Percussionist, since it provides value when it dies. And then we could decide not to bring it back. But I probably should. Just on the off chance that they don't have the sweeper. Alright, do you have a Sunfall? Nope, no double white. Terra Sunder exiles Alicia, that's acceptable. Alright, so now we're in pretty good shape. So I get to attack for 9 damage with a Percussionist. Don't think I can find another point of damage somewhere. Maybe could have held the Percussionist as a haste threat. But yeah, if they didn't have a Sunfall last turn, they probably don't have one next turn either. Another Fountain Port. Can also torch my own Percussionist just to at least sacrifice it as opposed to it getting exiled. Opponent gains a bit of life and explodes. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a nice hand. Hexmage can sack the roll to Disturbing Mirth, so we can hit for 3. Or we can play Rakshasa to set up Alicia. And both are fine options. Opponent seems to have removal. Burst Lightning my Hex Mage. So then a Rakshasa it is. So their opponent could be on a Boros Burn deck. So they might have some 2 and 3 damage answers for Alicia. So we'll see if they tap out or not. Otherwise I might have to reconsider my play. Because yeah, we don't want to just lose Alicia to a burn spell. If I attack to enable raid, they can also just remove the Seer Slicer before I get a token. So that's not great either. So yeah, I mean, what's the alternative? Just Disturbing Mirth, sack Rakshasa. Feels kind of bad. But I might draw into another 1-drop, and then I'll have a Disturbing Mirth I can sack to the other one. On the other hand, if I force them to point their burn spells at my creatures, they're not burning my face off. So there's something to be said for still playing a creature out here. But I think I'm going for Disturbing Mirth. And ideally find a 1-drop so we can enable raid next turn. We did not. Alright. Next turn I can double 2-drop at least. Opponent going for Boros Charm. The double Battlefield Forge is also costing them. So Mirth, sack Mirth. We get to manifest Dread. Wanna leave the creatures in the graveyard for Alicia, although Rakshasa could be flipped face up. So that's maybe still worth taking since there's a Rakshasa already in the graveyard. Play Seer Slicer. That one might get removed. But we just need a 1 creature to enable raid next turn. And then Alicia gets back Rakshasa. Annex can gain us more life. It's gonna be a Virtue of Courage, dealing 2. Can be a source of card advantage once they deploy the enchantment half. We are at 10. But they've already cast double Boros Charm. Now Slag Storm to wipe the board. Was not expecting that one. So still no way to enable raid, but we drew another Alicia. Could also just make the demon, to be fair. I'll start there. And then next turn I can hopefully attack, play Alicia, and I could also unlock the Annex. Alright, I guess the demon is too much for them to handle. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a Keeper. Opponent with a Ghost Vacuum. That is pretty relevant interaction against us, so Alicia wouldn't be able to get anything back. That's unfortunate. Now I might want to play Springs into Percussionist, so next turn I still have the option of Vengeance plus Hexmage. Opponent passes with Blast Zone. We might put a couple 1-drops in play here. But yeah, let's attack. Hexmage enchants Percussionist. And then next turn we have options. Preacher, good target for Final Vengeance. Or we could shrink it down with Nowhere to Run and finish it off. But yeah, probably want to just cast a 3-drop this turn if I'm being honest. And since Alicia is a little bit nerfed here, maybe this Annex first. Or I could Final Vengeance, see what we hit off Percussionists. They might have bigger creatures that I can't get past with Nowhere to Run. But sure, let's try this. And then I can just sack the roll token too if I wanted to. And then we'll have Nowhere to Run for their turn, maybe taking care of a Deep Cavern Bat. They've got the Annex. So demons will be incoming. For now I might want to get Alicia in place, since if it attacks, I can get past the 6/6 demon by shrinking it down. And it's going to be a duress first. Takes Annex. And Preacher. Can still attack past that one. And now Torch can finish it off, so they seem dead to me. Alright, so the vacuum was annoying, but in the end we never really needed to get anything back. And our opponent explodes. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the play, and we have a fine hand. Turn 1 Hex Mage, turn 2 hopefully Seer Slicer with Raid. But we also have the option, if we draw another 1-drop, to enchant the same Hex Mage again. Turn 1 Ruin Lurkers, so maybe a white life gain deck. For now we get to attack. Finding removal is going to be important, since it's going to be tricky to outrace their flying life linkers. So it's a black-white bat life gain deck. Channeler immediately grows. Alright, so attack all out. They might block the Hex Mage or the 1/1 Goblin token. We actually prefer it if they block the Hex Mage, so we can get it back with Alicia. Our opponent just takes it. In that case, I guess I could be convinced to go double Hex Mage instead. Or Annex to start drawing, but then we're gonna take quite the beating. It's a tricky spot. And maybe I should Annex first. Putting 2 3-powered creatures in play. I mean, it does maybe affect the race in our favor, but it's just mana inefficient. And we need to find removal, I think, if we want to ultimately win this game. And we found it. Final Vengeance cleanly exiles the Channeler. Can sack the roll token to enable it. So we could go double Hex Mage, a roll token on the same one, or we could spread them around on our Goblin tokens. And then eventually sack the one enchanting the Hex Mage. Opponent's got a second Channeler, however. So I guess we know which one we're exiling. There's also a minor argument for exiling the life linker, but they've got more life gain effects in the deck. So, could start by using the Final Vengeance. And then there's a small chance I end up playing Alicia here. And since we have all these Goblin tokens to enchant, we don't lack targets for Hex Mage. Opponent did actually block with the Channeler. So now Alicia looks good. Even though we won't enable Raid on the Seer Slicer, since those happen at the same time. I drew Rakshasa, which is perfect for Alicia and the Annex, and our opponent scoops it up. Maybe they didn't expect Alicia there. Alright, so we get to see this latest iteration of the red-black sacrifice deck in action, and yeah, I was quite pleased with the addition of the Rakshasa, helping us set up the Unholy Annex a lot better, and of course having great synergy with Alicia as well. Now the deck will suffer in the current best of 1 metagame, especially if you're taking this to the ranked ladder, because so many decks are now packing main deck Graveyard Hate to try to counteract the various Omniscience Graveyard combo decks, so then you're gonna catch some strays from all that Graveyard Hate as well, and your Alicia's not going to be nearly as exciting, so the deck's not particularly well positioned. It's also still a little bit slow compared to some of the prowess aggro decks, which come out the gates much faster, so I don't think that matchup is going to favor us, but in general it seems like a pretty powerful mid-range strategy that can adapt to whatever the opponent is doing. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's gameplay. Want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.